The monsoon has officially arrived in India. The Indian Meteorological Department has declared June 4th as the date of onset of monsoon. But when we talk about the monsoon, not only is it very important for us as a country, because India tends to receive around 75 to 80% of its annual rainfall in these monsoon months. Our agricultural economy, the well being of irrigation, the rural demand, and eventually leading to the consumer demand and overall the GDP of the country is dependent on the monsoon rainfall. This year, the onset of monsoon was delayed. So, what is this onset of monsoon? Is just the occurrence of rainfall in Kerala known as the onset? No. So, here we will talk about what is onset of monsoon. Why is it that this year the onset has been delayed? There has been a role played by the Indian Ocean as well, along with the development of El Nino conditions. So, what happened in the Indian Ocean which led to the delay in the Indian monsoon? That is what we are going to talk about. Hello and welcome to Unacademy. Welcome to this session where we are going to talk about the details of Indian monsoon from basic to the expert level, relevant for your examination, and also discuss the prelims type of question which can be framed out of it. Now, monsoon basically brings the rainy season and is the official start of the rainy season in our country. But there are certain criteria which needs to be fulfilled. Only then do we declare it as the onset of monsoon. It is not as if Kerala did not receive rainfall in the month of May. Kerala did receive rainfall in the month of May. Karnataka did receive rainfall in the month of May. But still, June 4th, 2026 will be the date of the onset of monsoon. So this is dependent on the fulfillment of three important criteria. What are those? Let us understand them first of all. So, when we say the onset of monsoon, what is and when is the onset of monsoon declared? So, there are three criteria which needs to be fulfilled. First is the case of the rainfall, then the wind pattern, and then the outgoing long wave radiation. We will talk about each one of them in detail. But first of all, what is given as per the website of Indian Meteorological Department? So, if 60% of the available 14 southern meteorological stations report rainfall measuring 2.5 millimeter or more for 2 consecutive days, in that particular case, the criteria for rainfall is fulfilled. Which are those 14 meteorological stations? We'll take a look at them. So, at least 60% of these 14 stations, there the amount of rainfall for 2 consecutive days has to be 2.5 millimeter and more. Then, for the onset, the depth of the westerly winds mean winds which are moving from west to east. The depth of the westerly winds should be maintained at up to 600 hectopascals or HPA, which is a unit for measuring the atmospheric pressure, and wind speeds must range between 15 to 20 kilometer per hour, or rather 15 to 20 knots, 27 to 37 kilometer per hour. Now, what is that? We will talk about it in detail. For India's southwest monsoon, the satellite derived OLR values, the outgoing long wave radiation values, should be below 200 watts per square meter. This indicates the presence of cloud cover. So let us understand each one of them in detail and then let us summarize all of them to understand what is onset. First of all, the 14 southern meteorological stations. Which are those? So Minikoi, Emini, so Minikoi in the region of Lakshadweep, Tiruvananthapuram, Panalur, Kollam, Alappuzha, Kottayam, Kochi, Thrissur, Kozhikode, Thalassery, Kannur, Kudalur, and Mangalore. These are the weather stations, the meteorological stations. If 60% out of all of them, they basically report the amount of rainfall to be 2.5 millimeter or more, greater than 2.5 millimeter for 2 days, consecutive days. Okay? That is an important criteria. Then after that, it is the case of the winds. Now, winds here, if you remember the condition, 600 hectopascal or HPA, there the wind speed has to be substantial, and at around 925 hectopascal, it has to be 27 to 37 kilometer per hour. So what is this condition of hectopascal? So first of all, for ease of understanding, 1 hectopascal is equal to 1 millibar. We know that the average atmospheric pressure at sea level is how much? Pressure at sea level is basically 1013.2 millibar or 1013.2 hectopascal. Okay. So when we are talking about 625 hectopascal, means what? We are talking about an altitude. If let's suppose this is your ground surface, the pressure condition here is 1013.2 hectopascal. As you move higher up, the pressure exerted by air increases. The air density is maximum closer to the surface owing to the force of gravity. So all the air, gaseous molecules, water vapor, dust particles, they are concentrated roughly close to the surface itself. So as we move higher up, the pressure increases. So when we talk about a condition of 650 hectopascal, we are talking about an altitude of 3.5 to 4 kilometers. So at this altitude, you should have the presence of the westerly winds along with the presence of westerly winds at the surface. So what the wind criteria basically means is that sustained westerly winds from surface to higher up to the altitude. Okay? That is the case of the wind factor. Then after that, you have the case of the outgoing long wave radiation. What is outgoing long wave radiation? So for example, if you consider the ground surface, now we receive heat from the solar radiation. Solar radiation is very high in energy, so it is in the form of short wave. So that is what is also referred to as the incoming short wave solar radiation. Incoming short wave solar radiation. Okay. Now, the ground surface heats up, and when it heats up, particularly during the summer month, the amount of heating will be very high. So when it heats up, it starts emanating its own energy waves, but they will be in lower energy pattern as compared to the solar waves, obviously, because the sun has much higher temperature, so high energy radiation will be emitted. The planet's surface, even if it gets heated up, how much temperature will it attain? 40 degrees, 45 degrees at max, much lower than the sun. So it will have a lower energy value. So this is what is referred to as the terrestrial radiation, or also referred to as the outgoing long wave radiation, OLR. Now, remember the criteria said that the OLR value should be less than 200. Now, when will the OLR value be less? Now, this is detected by the satellites which are out there in the space, isn't it? They will detect the OLR values. Now, when will the satellites end up detecting lower OLR values? When you have the ground condition which is heated up, and on top of that, let's suppose development of sustained cumulonimbus clouds. Now, in that particular case, the outgoing long wave radiation will never be able to escape. It will be re-radiated back. So some amount of it will escape. So a reduced OLR basically indicates what? it basically indicates presence of a dense cloud cover. Cloud cover. Okay. So these are the three criteria. I take you back to the conditions now. Now you will be able to understand them perfectly. So what is the onset of monsoon? When you should have, if 60% of the available 14 southern meteorological stations report 2.5 millimeter or more of rainfall on 2 consecutive days, if you have persistent westerly winds at an elevation of 4 kilometers above the surface, on the ground surface as well, sustained wind movement, and such dense cloud cover that the outgoing long wave radiation is less. After all, that is how you can measure the density of cloud cover, based upon how much radiation is stopped by these clouds. So once you have these dense cloud cover, means you will have sustained rainfall as well. So upon the fulfillment of these three criteria, that is when the meteorological department declares the season as the onset of monsoon. Okay. Now, this is the chart which has been issued by the Indian Meteorological Department today. Now, what does this chart indicate? So, here you will find the red lines as well as the blue lines. Red lines indicate the normal expected day for the onset of monsoon. So, you will find that 1st of June is the normal expected day for the onset of monsoon in the region of Kerala. But in reality, that has happened on 4th of June, isn't it? It has occurred on 4th of June. So the monsoon has been delayed. As important as it is for your examination to understand that what marks the onset of monsoon, equally important for you to understand why the monsoon has been delayed. So as you can see, the monsoon will have its coverage from south to north in almost 1 month. By around 5th of July, it will cover the entirety of the country. But it has been delayed by 4 days. Now, why it has been the case? There are multiple factors associated with the delay of monsoon. But before we look into that, for all the serious aspirants out there, important for you to understand the preparation of mains is what will ensure whether you clear the exams or not. And between the prelims and the mains, you hardly have around 80 days. As you would have seen in this year as well, that basically majority of the candidates after appearing for the prelims, they get involved in the discussion, the doubts associated with the prelims paper and so on. Valuable time is wasted. Now, you have limited time window before the mains. It is important for you, whether you are appearing for the exam this year or next year, to get an understanding of answer writing, how to go about the answer writing. So, for you, what we have done is we have brought about a comprehensive package for the mains preparation, where, first of all, live lectures for mains with special focus on answer writing will be done. Mains handouts will be given. You will have the MRTS, means evaluation will also be there. You will have a compendium of notes, concise notes associated only with the mains exam, live answer writing in the session which will be evaluated by the educators themselves, and you will also have live sessions by the toppers of UPSC who will guide you about answer writing, let's suppose in ethics, in optional and GS, so that you are able to gain that winning edge over the rest of your competition. So please do avail this opportunity. The classes start from 8th of June. Now, having said that, there has been a delay in the onset of the monsoon. Now, the delay is caused because of multiple factors. Majority of the news outlets have only covered the case of El Nino, that you have the condition of El Nino. That is why there is a causation or there is a kind of a delay in the onset, right? But there are other factors associated with the delay. What are the other factors? So there is role played obviously by Enzo or El Nino conditions. We will take a look into that also, that how it impacts. There is a role played by the Indian Ocean. How? So Indian Ocean is the one which provides moisture to the winds, isn't it? After all, The winds which are moving towards India, if they don't have enough moisture, they won't be able to cause rainfall. Greater amount of moisture, greater and earlier onset of monsoon. Now, this moisture is provided to the winds by the process of evaporation, a general funda, evaporation. Greater the evaporation from Indian Ocean, more will be the moisture provided in the winds, isn't it? Now, when we talk about evaporation from any water body, evaporation is dependent on temperature, isn't it? Evaporation is in fact directly proportional to temperature. So whenever you have warmer water, it will lead to greater evaporation. And whenever you have greater evaporation, that will lead to more moisture, isn't it? And whenever you have more moisture, means winds will carry enough amount of rainfall, more and early rains in India, right? So that is the generic phenomena. Now, if we take a look at the region of the Indian Ocean, I have two satellite imageries in front of you. This is the case of the satellite imagery of 1st June 2025. This is the satellite imagery of 1st June 2026. Now, just by appearance sake, you will be able to make out that in 2025, the water temperature was much higher, isn't it? Whereas here, you will find the presence of cold water patches. As a consequence of this, you had lesser evaporation on 1st June. Lesser evaporation meant that you would not have those sustained moist winds coming towards India, no sustained cloud formation, and as a consequence of that, delayed onset. Delayed onset. Okay. Now, this is something I will substantiate with another satellite image. This is the satellite image of the wind system. This is the satellite image of the wind system on 1st June 2026. This is of today, 4th June 2026. You observe in the first image that the wind system is not very persistent, particularly across the western coast. There is a gap of sorts in the wind paradigm or the parameter. On 4th of June, you will observe that the winds are quite regular. So that is where it was the extraordinary and the sudden cooling of Indian Ocean, which further caused the delay in the onset of Indian monsoon. Had it been much warmer, onset would have happened much earlier. In general, that is associated with the condition of a positive Indian Ocean dipole. That is when you have warmer waters in the Western Indian Ocean. That was not the case this year. Now, most of the moist winds are being provided from the high pressure which is present around the Mascarene Islands in the southern hemisphere, southern Indian Ocean. This is the high pressure. It is from here that the winds, they pick up the moisture, they cross the region of equator, and then they become westerly winds as they bombard India with excessive amount of rainfall. So the strength of the high pressure is directly related to the amount of rains and the onset of rains. So here, monsoon rains are proportional to the strength of the Mascarene high pressure, of Mascarene high pressure. Okay. So here when we say that you have a stronger Mascarene high, means better monsoon. But this strength of high pressure this year appears to be weakened. Why? Because of the development in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is getting warmer in an event that is the Super El Nino event. You will find the link for the Super El Nino video as well in the description below. So you had the case of the Super El Nino event, due to which you basically have a weakening of the Mascarene High. How? So basically, whenever you have El Nino condition, it is an event in the region of the Pacific Ocean. You find the warmer waters to be present in central and eastern Pacific. Now, this induces a change in the otherwise Walker circulation which is present across the equatorial region. Now, if you observe the region of the Mascarene high pressure, here the wind system is such that it tends to weaken the Mascarene high. So, because the entire Walker cell tends to shift. So, here El Nino conditions they weaken Mascarene high and hence basically weaken the rains in India, reduced rains in India. Okay. So that is basically another reason why the monsoon has been delayed and why this year India is expecting only 90% of the expected average annual rainfall during the monsoonal season. We are expecting a deficient rainfall this monsoon season, which will cause various different agrarian crises in multiple parts of the country. So that is what the country has to be prepared for. Okay, so in a nutshell, what have we discussed in this particular session? Mind you, this is a detailed session, very vital for your exam. We will take a look at the practice question as well. But what is onset of monsoon? The three criteria. What are those criteria? Right? The wind pressure, the wind movement at the surface and at a higher level, amount of rainfalls, 60% of the 14 meteorological stations to have recorded 2.5 millimeter or more of rainfall on consecutive days. Outgoing long wave radiation has to be below a value which can only happen if you have a sustained cloud cover. So these conditions are very much required to be fulfilled. Then we have discussed why the delay has happened. El Nino condition, weakening of the Mascarene High. Also, the cooler conditions present in the central Indian Ocean has also led to lesser moisture available with the winds. Now, let us take a look at the practice question. Which of the following factors are associated with the onset of Indian monsoon? Pause the video, take a look at the question, and provide the answer in the comment section below. I hope this has added to your content and has provided you something that you did not know before. If you have liked the session, put that in the comment section and don't forget to click on the like, share, and the subscribe button. Till we meet again, do take care of yourself. Goodbye. Thank you.